Hey everybody, welcome back to This Old Trike. I am sorry I've been delinquent. I've not posted up a video, and coming up on this will be 2 weeks, so I'm not trying to cop out, but I think what I'm going to do tonight, I've gotten some requests, made my first YouTube post, and I asked people what they wanted to see. I do read all the comments, so when you do leave a comment, I typically respond, and they're favorable for the most part, so thank you for all that. All my subscribers, coming up on 2,000 subscribers. I can't believe there's that many people that want to see what I'm putting out there, but in reading the comments, I've had a couple people ask me what my favorite three-wheeler is. So I'm going to talk about my favorite rider, and I'll show you what that is. So here we go. So let's see, what is my favorite rider? Is it that kick and go? Nah. I think I'm past the weight limit on that. Is it one of these 90s? No. Actually, I've never ridden any of these balloon tire 90s, with the exception of the blue one back there. Just with these tires, I don't want to tempt fate and end up with a flat. Is it my blue 110 with a fairing? Nope. Is it this junky 88 Big Red that nobody likes? Nope. 85 SX? No, they're fun. I like 250 SXs. I like Big Reds. I like 250R four-wheelers and 400 EXs and 250 SXs, or 250 Xs, pardon me. But are they my favorite? No. This Fat Cat. Fat Cats are so weird. I don't know if you've ever ridden a Fat Cat. Drop a comment if you've owned a Fat Cat, ridden a Fat Cat, saw a Fat Cat one time somewhere. They are such a weird machine to ride. Is it this TPC? I do like this TPC. But as far as the machine I like to ride the most, that isn't high maintenance, that is dependable, that is loyal, that is my go-to, I would have to say it is this 85 350X. So I'm going to pull this out in the light, and we're going to talk about how I got it, what I've done to it, and things of that nature. Here we go. So what do you guys want to hear? You want to hear the story? Is that what you want? You want me to tell you the story of how this came to be in this garage? All right, I'll tell you the story. There I was, minding my own business, when I received a Craigslist notification. So this was before the days of Marketplace dominating the sales listing wars. Not the wars, but this was, I'll have to, 2018, I'd have to say. And this 350X popped up for sale. Let me throw up a picture of the only picture that was in the for sale post. So you're going to be seeing that now. Gentleman whose name I came to find out was Adam was asking $2,200 for this machine in 2018. And it had OEM plastics all the way around, crack free. It had a steel gas tank, and we'll talk about that and how it's dented and the story behind it. It had little 18-inch tires on the back that were a little too small, but it was a good deal. And that guy, I was at my son's my daughter's soccer game, when I got in touch with Adam, and there was no way I was going to be able to come up that night. And I asked him, I said, I'm going to pay your price. I'm a guaranteed buyer. Can I meet you first thing in the morning? And he said, what time is that? And I said, he was about an hour away. I said, I'll be at your house at 7 or earlier if you'd like. And he said, nope, 7 is good. And it was summertime. So that was the deal. And he said, I'll hold it for you. And he did. And Adam and I have become very good friends. And Adam, if you're watching, I consider you a good friend. And we've done a number of deals, and I've helped him out and he's helped me out, and he's a good guy. So I went up there and checked this machine out, and Adam collects vintage skidoos, bombardiers, and has a nice little collection of that, and had some nice three-wheelers there too. He had a 85 200X, he had an 82 185S that he wouldn't sell me that day, but he sold me at a later day. He had a 83 or an 84 Big Red, I can't remember which. That might have been it for three-wheelers, but he collected a variety of different things. And you know, sometimes you meet people and you can tell if you're gonna like them, and if you're gonna interact with this person after that day, or if this is gonna be the only day you're gonna meet this person. But I could tell Adam was cool, and there was a good possibility we were gonna be friends. So Adam basically said, what did he say? He let me pick his barn a little bit. He had some parts up in the loft of his barn, and I think what we did was he gave me this machine and some spare parts and a spare set of tires, some PV 702s, which are TRX 250 SX parts or tires, 300 EX tires. Gave me a spare set of those. Headlight guard. I think I got everything for $2,000. This was 2018. And here's the story. Let's switch this around so we can look at the machine while I tell you the story about the machine. Okay, so here she is. The story behind this machine, and now I'll post up some pictures of the machine when I brought it home. As you can see, it had number 35 on the rear fenders. These are the fenders that are on this machine currently, are not what came on it. The 35 number was the number that the original owner of this machine used. He apparently had a brother that raced three-wheelers. I don't know if they were 250Rs or what. I didn't get that level of detail, but the gentleman that originally owned this, and I don't know who that is, he was the more heavy-set brother. We'll say that and try to be politically correct and not try to hurt anybody's feelings, but he was the chubby brother and wanted to be like his older brother who raced. So he bought this machine. He put a web cam in it, and the cam in this is a 304B, and it's dated like May of '86 or something like that. So that checks out as far as the timeline, because I've been in the motor of this, and I'll explain that. But he did the cam, he did some springs, some valve springs. He had a 10 1/4 to 1 high compression piston in this, a Wiseco. I think that's the extent of the motor work, and he had a super trap on it. I believe that is all the modifications that gentleman did. So he raced it one time. If it wasn't one time, it was just a few times, but we'll go with one time. And apparently he crashed it and scared himself and did this to the tank. It's got a pretty healthy cave in right there, and then some probably handlebar, whatever else marks there. But that's the original tank to this. The shrouds are original to it. The bars, as far as I know, are original. So if he crashed, he didn't bend the bars, or maybe those are replacement bars, but everything looks correct in that regard. But he scared himself and he put it away and didn't ride it again. And then however many years later, 20 years or so later, along came Aaron, who knew this guy and knew of this machine, and Aaron was able to buy it. So I think Aaron owned it for I'm calling him Aaron, Adam. Adam bought the machine and owned it for a number of years, a couple years. I'm not 100% sure, but he eventually realized he wanted something else and posted it up for sale. And I was fortunate enough to be the one that he set up the meeting with, and I brought her home. The thing is, I did get it started on that day and took it for a ride, and it smoked. And he said, it always smokes like this in the beginning. I think it needs valve seals. And I said, okay. So I took it up and down the road. I let it warm up. It never stopped smoking. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I didn't let it get hot enough and didn't let the oil get up into those valve seals enough to seal them back up. But maybe I'll take it home and we can right the ship and get it to stop smoking. I was never able to get it to stop smoking just by riding it. Tried riding it around the property more than a few times, and I smoked everything out. I controlled the mosquito population quite a bit, but I never got it to not smoke. And I even there's a thing called SNIRT. Here, let me get face to face with you. There's an event up in northern New York, north of Syracuse, in the spring. We haven't had it the past 2 years because of current events. Pretty dumb, because it's an outdoor event, but whatever. They call it SNIRT because it's a ATV event when there's still some snow on the ground and there's dirt, and they should call it SMUD because it's usually wet and snowy or muddy. I guess 1 year it was really dry, but that was before I started doing it. But it's a poker run. And so the following spring, after I owned this, I took it up to SNIRT and rode it. And we did about 84, 85 miles that trip. And I figured, this is going to be the test. If it doesn't stop smoking by the end of this ride, and I was in denial. I was thinking that maybe, I could get it to stop smoking just by riding it, which is pretty dumb of me, but whatever. I figured if it didn't stop smoking by the end of this ride, there was gonna be engine work involved. So I threw an extra quart of oil in my backpack, and me and the boys set out, and this is a big event, mostly dominated by side-by-sides, and because everybody that drives a side-by-side is super cool. Guys that ride three-wheelers are also really cool. What's cool is at this event, guys will walk past, your $25,000 side-by-side, and they'll go, "Is that a 350X? No way, I had one of those." They'll fawn over your 350X, while it sits right next to a brand new Talon or whatever the other side-by-side models are. I don't know. So we started at the southern end of that poker run, and there's a middle point. It's kind of like there's a bunch of trails at the southern end, and then there's a bottleneck up near, and if you've done SNIRT, you know this, at Flat Rock. It's kind of the choking point, kind of like imagine an hourglass. So Flat Rock is right in the middle, and it's a nice place to stop and get some refreshments, get something to eat. We stopped there. We'd done about 20 miles on our trip, and we were just kind of hanging out, looking at the other machines. And my buddy, who was also on the 350X, Paul, he was standing next to me. I said, "Well, let me check the oil on this." It was smoking pretty bad. And I was leading the pack, so everybody was smelling my Rotella. I had Rotella in it. I don't even care. So I checked my oil, and boy, there's just a whisker left on the dipstick. I was on a little bit of a hill, and Paul saw my expression, and he goes, "What's going on?" I was like, I'm low. And he was, how low? And I showed him, he's like, well, you're on an incline, so get it flat. And I was like, yeah, that's not gonna make up a lot of it. So I flattened it out, gave it a minute, checked it, and I was wicked low. So I put pretty much all but just a little bit of that quart I brought with me in it. And I said to the group, okay guys, we gotta talk because I got some issues. And our plan then included stopping at a gas station at the northern end to get some oil so I could have enough oil to get home. And that's what I did. We had a great ride, smoked the whole way, bought 2 quarts of oil at that gas station, put pretty much another quart of oil in it there, and had the last one to top off somewhere on the way back. Smoking the whole way. My plug was starting to look like, and it was running like garbage for the last 20 miles. You know, I had to keep on it to keep it going, but made it back, had a great ride. I'm sharing some pictures with you while we go here of this one photographer got some pictures as we were coming back through at Flat Rock. You can see the cloud of smoke behind me the whole way. And I knew then that we were gonna have to open up the motor. And my buddy, Donny Buysall, was more than willing to dive into it with me. And so I'm gonna switch this around and show you some pictures of the motor work we did. So that was the ride we took. We went 84 or 5 miles that day. I burned 4 quarts of oil. And here's what the spark plug looked like. I'll show you a picture of that. I kind of wondered while I was riding why it started to run like garbage. And once I pulled the plug when I got home, it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. And I tried everything to fix it without pulling the motor out. But Donny Buysall came over and we pulled the motor out per the book. He's a big stickler on going by the book, and that's a good thing. So this came out. We pulled the head off and pulled the jug off, and it was not obvious why it was doing what it was doing. It was burning so much oil. We were certain it was going to be obvious. What we found, though, was one of the valve springs was cracked, and I think it was on the exhaust side. So we had a cracked exhaust spring. They were not stock. We did not know what they were, but I ordered some Kibble White stiffer valve springs to replace what we took out. We got a hold of my buddy Greg Jr., who is a Wiseco products distributor, and he hooked us up with a brand new 10 1/4 to 1 piston. The rings on the piston, the little gaps in the rings, they did seem to be kind of lined up. So you don't want to do that when you put a motor together, but I don't know if they migrated to be that like that, or if that was just a coincidence, but that was also something that was going on. And what we did, we sent the jug and the head to my buddy John's machine shop that he goes to. They bored it to accommodate the new piston. They did a valve job and lapped the valves and put in new valve seals and put in the spring. No, I guess we put in the springs when we assembled everything. But it got a full top end rebuild and went back together. And in the process, I painted up the exhaust to make it look nice, and that's holding up really well. I'm pleased with that. I had put a 400EX carburetor on this some time ago, before all that. And that really helps with starting. The 400EX carburetor has an accelerator pump. So if you do that upgrade, basically from a cold starting scenario, you can blip the throttle twice and that shoots a little gas into your cylinder, and then just give it a good kick or two on choke and she will fire, and it helps starting a lot and performance too. How How about I take the fenders off and show you what that mod looks like, and show you what the frame looks like. These are my rider fenders. That's a aftermarket seat cover. I can't remember what machine these came on. I do remember. This was my fourth 350X I bought at the beginning of my addiction, and I kept those and put OEM red fenders on it. And those are my rider fenders. This has really nice original fenders on it that are sitting on a shelf because they're too nice to be rider quality fenders. But here's what you got to do, and I guess we're not going to be able to see it. The 400EX carburetor has the yellow choke lever, and that's a good just easy tell if it's had an upgrade, because the choke lever on a 350X would be metal. But this has where that goes in, and you're not gonna be able to see it in there, but the knob, it's got a knuckle where that connects to the carburetor, and it interferes with your snorkel. And what I do, because I've done this mod on a couple, and you're not gonna be able to see it in there, but this is hard plastic. But you can put the carburetor on it, kind of identify where the interference is with that snorkel tube, and mark it, heat it up with a heat gun to the point where, you know, the plastic is starting to be pliable, and I take a ball peen hammer or even a regular hammer, and once it's pliable, I push in on it with the hammer and let it cool in place, and that's usually enough to deform your snorkel to make it clear the bigger choke lever for the 400AX carburetor. You don't want to eliminate this altogether, because then you're susceptible to water coming in your airbox at this level instead of up under your tank, and you don't want that. So that's an upgrade. It has a 400EX carburetor on it. I think I just have a uni filter in here. Yep, just running a uni. A little dry, needs a little oil. If you watched one of my earlier videos, you saw I put this nice ATC grab bar, the wide desert style grab bar on the back before I went to Trike Fest, and that's great. I did wheelie a little bit too aggressively at Trike Fest, so that does have a little bit of rash on it. But you know what's cool? If I need a new one of those, I can contact my good buddy Craig Burton. You can find him on Craigslist, not Craigslist. You can find him on Facebook, ATC. You can get a new one shipped to you for around $125. Maybe it's gone up like everything else in the world right now. What else did we do? So we did the Kibble White Springs, 10 1/4 to 1 piston. It had that cam in it, the 304B or 340B, maybe it's 340B webcam, 400EX carb. Everything else is stock. This is registered in New York. If anybody tells you can't get an ATC registered if you don't have prior paperwork or anything, that's a lie. I can tell you how to do it with no prior paperwork. Here's what you get if you do the SNIRT run. So that was last year we did it. If you haven't followed Honda Hoarders on Facebook, you need to do that. Also on Instagram. If you haven't followed This Old Trike on Instagram, get over there. What are you doing? I post only 3-wheeler pictures. If you notice my fork boots, they're dark on the bottom. I think that's the presence of oil. So I don't know if those fork seals have failed. It's not bad. It's not a pogo stick or anything, but it looks weird. It's always had that kink in the brake line, and anytime my friend Adam comes over, he comments that I haven't put a different brake line on it, but it's what came on it. It's part of the character. So this is the machine you hear in my intro. I start up and she runs beautifully. You see me, out on the mud flats with it in the intro and taking it up Buck Mountain. This was my rider at Trike Fest. I grew up on an 86 350X that I loved, and that's I sold this machine. I sold this machine back in 2010. I really wished I hadn't. Look at that banger on the tire. I don't know what I hit there, but I hit something. That's what I wanted to replace, and that's what started all this. I sold that in 2010, and it created a void that it took 101 Hondas to fill. Oh my gosh. But 350X is my favorite. There's a couple other things I've done to this that I'm just realizing that I didn't mention. The front wheel and rim are original. That's what was on it. The rear tires and rims, they're off either a 300EX or a 250X. That's a PV 702 as opposed to a 701. And that rim, as you know, if you've got a trained eye, that's got the non-rolled lip, or that, I guess you maybe consider that the rolled lip. That's a TRX design as opposed to the ATC design. Mentioned the grab bar. I put an aftermarket skid plate on it. I believe that's a PRM skid plate. What else did I do? I guess that's all. That might be an aftermarket caliper. I think I put that on for convenience. I think I put new pads in it. Honestly, I can't remember. They look very similar, the reproductions. I'd have to double check. Yep, PRM skid plate, I can see down there. Other than that, a little paint on the head pipe, a little paint on the exhaust. These fenders, like I mentioned, aren't original, but that's the story of my 350X. So if you were wondering, what's my favorite? That's the answer to the question. My 85 350X. It does have 86 rear plastics on it, OEM, and it's more reliable. My TPC is awesome. It's a little temperamental right now, and the valves need to be adjusted and redone, probably shimmed or whatever. I'm not familiar with those motors, so there'll be a learning process for me. 250Rs are really cool. I've got a couple. They're fast. They're a little finicky. Most of my riding is in the woods. Some of it is in the wide open, and they're good in that application. 200Xs are fine. A little underpowered, if you ask me. Big Reds are cool. Everything's got its purpose. That's why it's good to have one of every single Honda three-wheeler ever made, except one. But yeah, there you have it. In upcoming videos, I'm going to be doing more comparisons. I haven't done the air-cooled 250Rs. I haven't done the 125Ms. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to do 185Ss with the 200Ss. I've got some shop updates to show you. It's just been a very busy time getting ready for winter up here, so thank you for bearing with me. Again, make sure you like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get all the notifications. I'd feel so terrible if you missed, my new videos and whatnot. Share this with your friends. It's exciting to watch the subscriber count grow, and I'm amazed. But thank you all for watching. That's my 350X. Let me show you how easy it is to start. It's cold, and we'll just we'll set this up so you can see it. It's nice and cold. No tricks here. It's on. Kicker is out. So I do 2 blips on the throttle. That puts a little gas in the cylinder. Choke is on. Some people say 350Xs are hard to start. I don't get it.